What's up, y'all? Today we are back with another dope graphic. This one I used some AI as well as a lot of Photoshop techniques to get the lighting and everything just right. So let's break it down. So first off, we have our background photo, and I believe this is a photo that is from a street in Memphis. So the whole graphic is sort of themed that way. So then what I did is made a generative fill. So I just used this right here, drew a box down to here, used generative fill. That's how it filled it in. Pretty simple. So then I just made that one layer, and then I used the sky changer technique and changed the sky to that sky that is up here as well. Sky replacement, pretty easy to use if you've never used it before. I usually use it just to make the sky more interesting if it's not super interesting. So I used a generative fill here just to remove this. So this is just like kind of a distracting piece, and I want like a clean road where I can put, you know, the subject of the graphic. So I just drew a square around that. Did another generative fill. Then we made that a layer. And then we have our cutouts. On these guys, we did inner shadows coming from the middle. So like right here. It is this color, which is like these cloud colors, set to color dodge. And it's just coming from the middle, so it's hitting this guy on the left side and hitting this guy on the right side. So then I did a color balance to kind of make them look more like the background. Pretty easy way to do that. So if you've never used color balance before, you're kind of just shifting basically the white balance is how I would say. I have it set to mid-tones, and then I just mess with those sliders to get them to look like the background. And then I did a curves layer to try and match them with the sky even more. If you click Alt and then click on that square and then click on, or hold Alt, click Auto right here, you can pick the light and dark areas and make them blend in with the background even more. So a lot of different techniques to blend them into the background. Then I just use a selective color and tweaked that a bit to blend them in with the background even more. So you can see there's like a little bit of red sort of shading going over them. All I did was just make it look rusty by putting like an overlay on it, set it to multiply, and then tweaked the coloring with the hue saturation and tweaked the lighting with the curves layer. So these are just some shading spots for the lion, which is about to be put in. That is his foot because you can't see his foot in this photo, so I thought that looked kind of weird, so I added in like a foot back there to make it look less weird to me. So now all these shadows make sense. So basically I just used a brush and then cut out like where his feet are to put this shadow underneath him, and he has a inner shadow which is like a red glow around him. And then we just used some exposure layers to paint in some more lighting and shading. So you can see I brushed his teeth and then his eye to make it pop a little more and put some light on his nose. So all this is like creating depth with lighting, because that's what creates depth, I feel like. So I shaded this, which makes that feel further away, and then put lighting on this, which makes that seem closer in my mind. Oh, this is for his collar that he's about to have. So this is like a shading thing for what's about to go on top of him. And then I just used a color balance thing again on him to blend him in with the background, and a curves layer as well. Did the same thing as before like I did with these guys. For him it's a little bit different because as you get in certain scenes, as you get further away, things get less contrasty, and you can kind of tell. When I've always been able to tell is when you're driving towards the mountains, if you look off at the mountains, or if you look at like a picture of the mountains or whatever, the mountains that are further away look kind of more like grayscale, and the mountains closer look more contrasted. You can see all the details and whatnot. Kind of hard to explain. Let me know in the comments if you know what I'm talking about. So then I used another like chain photo as his collar. Just use a generative fill to remove that text on there because we didn't want, you know, some random text. I don't know what it means or whatever. And then I also used an inner shadow to darken up some of the chain, and then this texture layer set to color to make that match everything we had done so far. And then I just use a curves layer to make it pop a little more, and all that has an inner shadow, so that's what that edge lighting is. So that really makes it pop. I like that. And the light that's hitting it is coming from here, from all these neon signs and whatnot. So I think that works well. And then I have another exposure layer to darken up this area. And we use a couple generative fills on his hand to make it look like he's grabbing the chain here, because this is like a chain that I added in. So that sometimes works. If you add in something new, you can kind of like blend images using generative fill. And then I just use shading and a selective color to kind of blend all this into the same look there as well. And then I think I did another generative fill and used just a color fill to paint over his hand and make it all look the same color, make his glove look the same. So then we did another chain from the other side, kind of all the same effects, basically just flipped it. Then that's just a little chain piece coming like down out of his hand, and then just painted in some shadows right there to make it look like it's actually there. Use another inner shadow to give it that same like lighting pop, and then that same texture over top, set to color, and a curves layer and an exposure layer to sort of like brush and make it look like it's actually there. So now everything looks like, with the shading and lighting, it looks like it's like actually there, I feel like. And then I just use another selective color to sort of like blend in this part and the tiger a little bit, or the lion a little bit more with the background. And then I took the background and sort of like brushed in the clouds over top of these guys a little bit. So that's such a lighter color, and now it looks like, you know, they're like actually in the clouds. A lot of times if you're doing this larger than life look, it's good to have like the background painted over them a little bit. You don't want to like make it to where it's just super bland looking, but I basically just kind of like faintly brushed in like the clouds over top of them, and it's good to put some sort of effect on it. So I was using an exposure layer to darken up the bottom, to give it some depth, and then a selective color to just tweak everything to make it like the colors that I wanted. I use a selective color there on their faces to make sure they're not like too red, if that makes sense, because sometimes people can get like discolored from all the different like color effects I'm using. I basically just added in, I did the apply image thing and just added in like a dark edge around the whole photo, and then I brushed in like the screen layer of the apply image just to make certain lighter areas pop, so you can kind of see it around the tiger and right there on their jerseys and stuff. And then I did the same thing again a little more intensely in certain areas. And then we have the like logos and things. Basically it's just black squares that the logos and text is on, and then the logos down there. Let me know in the comments if you learn anything, or if you have any questions that I can answer. This will probably go on the Patreon, so go check that out. And hopefully in the next month or so I'll start doing reviews again. Might start doing live streams for that, so you can check that out as well. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.